And that was the beginning of being locked up for the first time, an 11-month period. And that was, I come from a family of drug addicts, alcoholics, prison, and to be sent to prison, you know, the same week that my father was getting out of prison was a real kick in the nuts. And I was very angry at myself to be, you know, looking like, wow, man, I've been so mad at this dude my whole life, and here I am going in for the same thing, you know. And it took a long time for me to really start to evaluate and to realize that my drug use, because I was hopping from Xanax, ecstasy, pretty much anything you put in front of me, until I finally met crystal meth, and I couldn't, you know, it really, within a 10-month period, I was selling drugs, I was hooked on drugs, I was evicted, I was homeless, and then I was locked up, all within 10 months from the day I tried that shit. And I wasn't prepared for that, but the more I started to go inside myself when I got in there, and I realized, you know what, I looked at the calendar like, there's a whole, I'm not getting out till next year, I have to accept this, you know. And it's a very difficult thing because you want to fight it, you don't want this to be your home. You're like, no, this isn't, these people aren't my family, this isn't where I belong. But the longer you hold on to that and you fight it, the slower your time goes, the harder it is to make that change. So once I did accept this is where I'm going to be, I had to start, or I chose to start going within myself and start writing every single day and just documenting my thoughts and everything I was going through, and really trying to ask myself, how did I get in this position? How did I end up in this point where my life is now in the hands of somebody else? If you've ever spent a night in jail or any kind of those institutions, they're not a fun place to be, and those people are other human beings like us, but they've also been in those places so long that they sort of stop caring, and they don't give a shit about what you feel or what you think. And as far as they're concerned, whether you're there for pot or murder, you're the same, and you're treated like nothing, you know. And it's not a very conducive environment to learning and to growth and to meditation, but I had an experience where you know, you read the newspaper, you try to read whatever you can to get news from the free world. Yeah, they think we're free out here. And one day there was a quote from the Buddhist Bible, the Dhammapada, and I can't remember what verse it was, but it was something that just struck me very deeply. I started to get a family member to send me chapters from the Dhammapada, and I just would read them and, you know, start to meditate and really start to ask myself, you know, again, how did I get here? I started to work on those deeper issues. And if you know anything about my activism, the idea of the conscious resistance, this is because I've lived this. I've had to face that, you know, my problems, my goals to make the world a better place aren't going to happen until I work on the things that I'm suffering from in here. You know, that's the way, that's why we're all so screwed up. That's why all the things like Pharaoh's rapping about are happening, and all the things that we see, whether you agree with the free thinkers, you're a part of the movement or not, we know that the world is not what we want it to be and that we can make it better. And I'm telling you, it's because we are all hurting in different ways. We all have to face our doubts, our insecurities, our fears, and overcome them. And the sooner that we begin to do that as individuals, we're going to see collective change. And I've experienced that over the last 10 years. As I said, going from somebody who had no faith, the person that you're talking to right now is not who I was 10 years ago. There's no way I could have stood in front of a crowd and admitted these things and talked about these things. And it took a lot of pain, a lot of hurting myself, hurting other people, stumbling, picking myself up. And I'm still doing it, you know, every day is just, it's a new lesson. But I feel so blessed and honored to be on this journey and to be able to look back and be like, wow, this is a distant memory. I remember every day when I was locked up, once I got to go outside and be outside, I would always jog the track every day. And I remember just in my mind, it was like therapeutic. Every lap was one day closer to home. Every mile was one day closer to home. And I remember thinking at that time, at some point, you're going to get to a point where this is all a distant memory and none of this will matter, and people aren't going to care if I have a felony anymore. People aren't going to look at me weird because I just got out of prison. And that none of that shit would matter. And I'm here to tell you that that day is today. And I have now a beautiful family of all of you who don't give a shit about things like that. We don't care about these artificial boundaries. We don't care about where you come from, you know, what music you listen to, what you're dressed like, how old you are. These are all things that we let divide us. And in the end, we all bleed the same blood. We are all one people. And I just want you to know, as my brothers and sisters, that you can overcome anything that gets placed before you. I promise you. And I'm here to say that I'm a living example of that. And I hope to share these next 10 years with you and go on some amazing journeys. Thank you guys.